it's a rough life. Living up to Lassie, it's a rough life. Trying to be so classy when I'm going through the garbage for a midday snack. Knowing I'm in trouble when the folks get back. It's a rough life. When fleas live on your belly, it's a rough life. When people call you smelly, I'm developing a complex. I might need a shrink. They blame me every time that something starts to stink. It's a rough life. Begging for a cookie is a rough life. Never getting nookie. They chase me from the kitchen when I start to beg. They think that I'm perverted when I hug their leg.
Hi, welcome to the show. My name is Jesse Goldberg, and my guests today are David Hunsinger, and I'm going to get this wrong, Janet
McMahon.
McMahon.
That's fine.
But it looks
That's
like
good.
McMahon.
Well, that's fine too. Just call me whatever you want.
Janet McMahon.
That's correct.
I guess that's right.
That's close enough.
Anyway, you guys are into theater.
We are.
And you wrote a play.
We did.
And what was it called?
Well, we've written actually a few plays. The one.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes, we wrote the music for Much Ado About Nothing, the Shakespeare play. We wrote the 40s version of that.
Did Billy know you were doing that? Did he give you permission?
Well, yes, he channeled through us, and he approved of all the music.
Excuse my voice, by the way. I lost my voice.
Oh, you're fine. Shakespeare and the Nashville Shakespeare Festival did that last, not this past summer, but summer before that. It was a 40s musical, unbelievably fabulous cast, and I think about, 15,000 people saw it?
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that.
15,000 people saw your musical?
Yeah, over the course of maybe 4 or 5 weeks at the Centennial Park.
Wow.
It was a blast. They did a great job.
Was it sort of like Gilligan's Island doing Hamlet? Did you ever see that episode?
Of course.
I love that.
I love
be,
that.
you or not to be, sung to the tune of from Carmen.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It was a lot of fun. We were very.
What else have you written together?
We wrote a play that was a part of a contest that was held by the Boiler Room, a theater venue. We did great.
What was the name of it?
Once Upon a Tree, and Mallory.
Oh, that's the one with Mallory singing.
The lovely Mallory sang that song tonight, or
Right.
singing that song tonight.
Right. Okay, we'll get into that after. And the third one you wrote is
Scheherazade and her 1001 nightstands.
Right. And okay, one night stands.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So when you guys write together, who writes what?
We sort of both do everything. Janet writes the script. She's this incredible flow of energy and great ideas. And I come in and kind of edit and then write with her. We both write music and words. We're both keyboard players and love words.
So you write songs sort of like a Nashville way, everybody contributes. Not just one lyric, one music, everybody contributes.
We're brutally honest with each other and you know, when you're writing a show, you want to make sure that it's enjoyable for the audience, so it's very important to just kind of get rid of all your defenses.
I know this is a stupid question, but how long did it take you to write this, Scheherazade?
A few months.
Yes.
So how about your other ones?
About the same, yeah. That doesn't mean all the time, every day, because when you're writing a show, you're also trying to get it off the ground.
Let me another question. How long did it take you to write the first draft of the script?
Of this latest one?
Just in general, was it usually? You sit down and lock yourself up and then say, everybody leave me alone, and then lose yourself in the characters?
I do. We both have a lot going on in our lives in addition to this writing, like family. I have 3 kids, you know, and obligations and everything. So you can't always lock yourself away. But I love to lock myself away. So I would say the first draft was probably 3 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
When you're sending your kids to school, you're constantly thinking about what's going to happen next in the story?
Absolutely. You know, sometimes I'll just be like staring out into space, and they'll go, "What's wrong, Mom?" And I'm thinking, you know, what should the king say to her then? Oh, yeah. You know,
Right.
yeah.
You've got soccer practice.
Yeah, we got to cook spaghetti now. You know, so.
Right.
So.
Well, I do the same thing. That's why I'm asking you that.
Yeah.
See if other people do that ridiculousness thing. So tell me about yourselves before we get into these particular plays. Tell me about yourself. Give me the quick.
I grew up in California. was going to school, University of California at Long Beach, where Steve Martin went to school. I played for a quartet. We had a little television program, and somebody recommended me to come to Nashville to play for a group. I quit school, came back, was on the road for 3 years with a gospel group, saw the music business. I just didn't know what was going on. I didn't know the opportunities. And out of that experience, I got a session career that's lasted for about 35 years.
Session as a keyboard player?
As a keyboard player.
He's amazing.
So it's been a wonderful, I mean, I love Nashville.
So you play on country sessions?
I do some country stuff. Mostly I've done contemporary Christian, gospel. I do my own solo records as a instrumentalist, you know, piano records. Janet and I produce together, orchestral records. And now we write musical theater.
Okay.
It's fun.
And you, tell me a little about you.
I'm from Nashville, went to school here, went to David Lipscomb. I'm almost a lifer there. A couple of years at other places, but I went there, graduated from college with a degree in piano performance. And right after I graduated, I got a call from a friend of mine that said, would you like to audition to play synthesizer on the road with Roy Orbison? I said, yeah. You know, I had never really played a synthesizer much at all. The synthesizer was new. This is the 70s.
I remember.
So I locked myself in my room for about 4 days and got the charts from Roy's band and auditioned, and then like 4 days later I was in Reno with Roy and the boys, you know. So that was like my first major.
You know much about Roy Orbison? Was he blind from birth?
He was not blind.
I thought he was blind.
He was not blind. His vision was poor, but he was not blind.
He wasn't blind?
And let me tell you, the story that I've heard, and it's legendary.
He could see, if you hold up fingers, he could go.
Yeah,
2 fingers.
yeah.
I always thought he was blind.
Well, okay, the story that
Was
I've
that
heard.
Ronnie Millsap?
Ronnie Millsap is blind.
Okay.
Ronnie Millsap. But the story that I heard, Roy at, I guess back in the 60s, was opening, no. The Beatles were opening for Roy Orbison. The Beatles were opening for, this is before the Beatles hit big. And as I understand it, Roy left his glasses on an international flight. So when he went out on stage that night, he didn't have his regular glasses. So it was either to go and not see very well or wear his sunglasses. So he wore the sunglasses, and everybody thinks that's the coolest thing ever. Oh. And so he always wore the glasses after that. Now, I never heard that from Roy, but that was the legend.
Was he a nice guy?
He was fabulous. He was, we were very, very good friends. He was a good, wonderful, honest man. And you know, when you're on the road, you see people, you know, 24/7 basically. I never saw him be anything but kind and friendly to every flight attendant, every server, everybody. He was a wonderful man.
Did you know him, like, lately when he was in the Traveling Wilburys and all that?
You know, I was gone by then, but I would run into Barbara, his wife, and we were good friends too. So, but he really had a, you know, total resurgence in his career in the later days. But he was a wonderful man.
All right, so what else? Tim, we'll go back to you now. What else? You're a session guy, and what's all this stuff you arranged?
Oh, I produced
What's this Andy Griffith thing?
I got a call one day, this is back in the old answering machine days before cell phones, and I heard a voice say, David, this is Andy Griffith calling from North Carolina.
Did you keep it?
I probably have it somewhere. Good luck finding something to play it on, because that Codaphone expired. But I thought it was one of my buddies. I picked up the phone. It was truly Andy Griffith. He had been contracted to do a gospel album with
He did a few of them.
He did. I did 2 with him. And I was a co-producer with Steve Tyrell, who lived in L.A. And Andy said, well, I want you to come to North Carolina, and we'll go through these songs. He said, I really want the keys to be right. So I went and hung out with Andy. He picked me up at the airport on a little landing strip in his Model T.
Was this after Matlock?
This was after Matlock. He grew up in North Carolina, and eventually the show was taped in North Carolina near where he lived. But I spent 5 months with him. We did the whole record in L.A. at a studio next to the Comedy Store on Sunset. Had a blast, heard stories about him hanging out with John Steinbeck and Elia Kazan and all these wonderful old Hollywood stories. Met Billy Bob Thornton and Laura Dern, and had a wonderful time working with Andy.
Wow. Yeah. I can't. This is the closest I've ever come to Andy Griffith.
It's pretty, just 2 degrees of separation.
Actually, it's not, because my girlfriend's kid met Goober in Kroger's when she gave him turkey she was working in the meat counter in Kroger's.
That's pretty close.
George Lindsay. Yeah.
I saw him at Harris Teeter.
Really?
I saw George Lindsay at Harris, and I also saw him at the old Bellmead cafeteria.
All right, before we talk about all this stuff, let's get back to your play that you're doing here, right?
Yes.
In this studio.
In this very room.
Now it's this one. I'm going to hold this up. Let's see if Bird can get it. Can you get this, Bird? It's a poster of Scheherazade, not the Tchaikovsky one. That was a ballet, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
But
Based on the ancient Scheherazade story.
Now, what are you doing? You're doing it in this play right here. You're going to have an audience here?
We are. We have 3 performances, April 21st and 22nd.
Is it going to be filmed?
Hopefully. We haven't worked all that out, but we hope so. It's basically...
Let me give you a hint for filming stuff, because I've been doing this.
Please tell us.
Does it have laughs in it, or is it...
Oh, it's a musical comedy.
Okay, this is what you need to do. If you're going to film it, make sure you mic the audience.
Good idea.
Because if you don't mic the audience, it's going to look dull. And you have to mic the audience.
That's good advice. Thank you.
And make it so it's a good mic of the audience.
Thank you.
Right. Okay, so tell me about this Scheherazade, and how'd you come up with this idea?
Well,
How do you spell this thing?
I have to think about it every time.
There's an extra E in here. It's almost like the SCHEH. It's almost like the EH shouldn't be in there.
Well,
it's an old Persian word.
There are...
No wonder why those Iranians can't spell. Look at this. Look at this extra HE in there.
That is correct, though, because spell
Why
check
is
has corrected me a few times. My dad used to tell me Scheherazade stories as a child, and she was always a hero of mine. Do you know the Scheherazade story?
No, not really. No.
Well,
it's a ballet, I think, and I kind of skip those things.
We'll tell it together. There was a king Shahryar. This is an ancient tale. It's not true. It's nobody.
And we're talking back to the 500, 600, 700s. So it's an ancient
of
literature.
I think it's public domain by now. So anyway, there was a king Shahryar who found one of his many wives to be unfaithful. She was with, legend has it that he found her with a kitchen slave. And so he was so angry that he wanted to take his vengeance out on women everywhere. So he decided that he would take a new bride every night and behead her the next morning. So it's misogyny at its best. Anyway, David, you want to take the story from there?
Scheherazade was the daughter of his vizier. That's just an advisor. And she felt so bad all these young virgins were dying. So she plotted to marry the king.
So she can get beheaded?
No, she had a plan. And the plan was that she would marry the king, and on their wedding night, she would say to the king, "Could I see my sister one more time before I die?" The king said, "Sure." So she sent for her sister. Dinahzad came over. Scheherazade was a great storyteller. So she told Dinahzad a story, particularly a titillating one, and it was a cliffhanger. And she said, "Oh, I'm so tired, I must go to sleep. The king said, "No, I gotta know." And she said, "I'll tell you tomorrow night." This went on for 1,001 nights. And those stories, which include Sinbad, Ali Baba, anything about genies in a bottle, Aladdin, they are the body of literature that's included in the 1,001 Arabian Nights. Oh. Our story concentrates on actually Scheherazade.
What happens on, this says 1,001 night stands. What happens on 1,002 nights?
He's fallen in love with her, and she has borne him 3 children, and she remains the queen.
And he's a changed man. It's a story of redemption.
He gets away with all those murders?
Well, it's bad. And that's a difficult thing we had to deal with. But we've got him beating himself up pretty bad, being regretful. We can't put him in prison. He's already gone. But anyway, that's the story. And Scheherazade is a feminist hero in Persia. Now, you said
his sister was named what?
Dinahzad.
So Zad was her last name?
Well, I don't know what that means.
Scheherazade and Dinahzad. I didn't know she had a sister. You make that up?
No.
Is that part of the story?
In fact, in the story...
So how many songs are in this thing?
There are probably we're still tweaking it. They're probably going to be 10.
10, okay.
10. It's probably going to run about 45 minutes.
That's all?
About.
For this first production, yes.
We're hopefully, Nashville State is building, has just broken ground on a new fine arts building.
I know,
for
it's
next
right
year.
over there. You can't get in the door anymore.
So
Can't get on the
right.
driveway anymore.
Hopefully, we're going to expand it and possibly do it next year for the opening.
So when you
of
say
Fine Arts.
45 minutes, how many pages of dialogue would that be?
You know, it's I'd say it's going to be, well,
20 pages maybe?
more than that.
More than that.
More than that. I'd say
Moves
30.
quickly, and it's very funny.
quick.
It's very funny.
Okay.
I'm trying to think about my formatting and whether the song lyrics are in the page. Probably 30 pages.
Do you use a program to write?
I use Pages on the Macintosh.
Oh, okay. To make it easier for you?
I love my Macintosh.
No, I meant is it using a program as opposed to just using Word or something?
You know, Pages, I don't, you know, there are programs that are more geared for script writing that format everything. And Pages is really more of a word processing program.
Like Final Draft or something like that.
Yeah.
It's called that.
Yeah, but it's interesting because this is the first play Nashville State has ever done, and we're just thrilled to be doing our direct.
First time a play's been in here. A second time. This has been a play here. One time before.
Oh, because I didn't realize
It didn't have an audience. I think they just, I think so.
Well, I need to correct my story then, because that's what I've been telling you.
But we're just happy to be involved.
Absolutely.
Right.
The director is the teacher of theater here at Nashville,
And his name?
Tom Anglin.
Anglin, right.
He's
now, how many
fabulous.
people in your cast?
Right, we had a couple of people that had to drop out for their
but how
jobs
many-
and stuff.
but how
But I
many?
would, right now we have 12.
So are you gonna, everybody gonna get an individual mic, or you gonna have a mic up on top, or?
We're still working that out. We're still working
Yeah,
that
that's
out.
the director's responsibility. I'm not sure, but it's going to be in this very,
Right,
very room.
right. Well, now tell me about this tree musical.
Once upon a
The one,
tree.
the one that has Mallory in it that sings the peasant song.
Oh,
Something about Cinderella or something?
Yes, and that is a work in progress. We worked on that for a long time.
Mallory's great.
oh, she's
She's
wonderful.
amazing.
She really is good.
She's
I don't
amazing.
think she knows she's that good.
She's very humble. She's a wonderful human being. She's beautiful in every way. We adore her.
I don't think she knows she's that good. I just talked to her for a long time.
Yeah, she's pretty amazing. She's a really special person. I'm trying to think when we did that musical, The Boiler
She
Room.
told me that she plays the Prince
This-
Charming's mother,
Mother.
who I didn't know had a
Yes.
mother, but obviously did have a mother.
Well, in the story, and
Right.
the mother, of course, the
Did you make
Princess
that up?
Royal. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You made it
Yeah.
up that Prince Charming had a mother.
Yeah,
It's not an ancient
Once
version.
Upon a Tree is a story that involves a lot of different characters from different fairy tales. And that's also true of Into the Woods, but it's really nothing, at
Nothing.
all.
It's totally
It's a
different.
comedy. But anyway, Prince Charming has married Cinderella, and the mother does not like her. She thinks Cinderella is very low born, and that's why she sings the song, "There's nothing pleasant about a peasant," meaning Cinderella herself.
So the one who's singing the song is Prince Charming's mother
Yes.
singing. Prince Charming's mother singing about Cinderella.
And she's actually singing to Cinderella.
Oh, she's singing it to
Yeah,
Cinderella.
yeah, she's not holding her feelings back.
There's nothing pleasant about a peasant who needs the needy. When you're pedigree, it's your job to be a snob. There's nothing pleasant about a peasant, most especially when it comes to present company. There's nothing pleasant about a peasant who needs a bumpkin, who rides in a pumpkin with a mouse. A princess spouse, I don't think so. There's nothing pleasant about a peasant, most especially when it comes to present company. I know she cleaned up nicely that cataclysmic night. But what was it precisely that made your senses take the light? How could one stiletto make you go so ghetto? Do you feel regret? Oh, how I hope you do. Why would you choose a wench for the one you wanted to woo? Diluting our family lineage with that penniless parvenu. Why'd you pursue a rendezvous with the one who could cause a coup? A mouse and a rat. You think that that would have given you a clue? Not to mention the livery lizards appearing right out of the blue. How could you make such a mistake all for the sake of a show? Son, how could you? Son, why would you? Were you out of your mind? She's clearly not our kind. There's nothing pleasant about a peasant who needs the needy. When you're pedigree, it's your job to be a snob. There's nothing pleasant about a peasant, most especially when it comes to present company. There's nothing pleasant about a peasant to me.
Are they all the songs as good as Nothing Pleasant About a Peasant?
Well, thank you for saying that. We hope so.
Are they all funny like that?
There's a lot of humor. We have one. Cinderella's big song is called Bunions, because the princess forced her to prance around the palace in stiletto shoes, because it was, see, the prince didn't really crave Cinderella that much. It was about his foot fetish. You know what I'm saying? The whole slipper thing and all that.
Oh, it's a foot fetish thing. Okay.
I mean, he loved her. There was a feeling there, but it was a lot about the feet. So Cinderella has just become sort of a suburban slob with, you know, corns and calluses and bunions, because who wouldn't have bunions if they paraded around a palace in stilettos all the time, you know? So she sings a song about bunions that's I think it's pretty funny.
So what's the other one? You had Once Upon a Tree, you had Scheherazade, and then what's the other one?
And Much Ado About Nothing.
Much Ado About Nothing. And that one's already been done.
It's done.
In front of 15,000 people.
And we are, we have a company that's licensing that to be, you know, to perform, you know, for regional theaters, community theaters.
Oh, you might make real money on it.
That would be nice. But David and I have also written throughout the years a lot of children's Christian musicals, a lot of theater works.
Yeah, I was looking at this thing here and it says you've had stuff by a lot of these artists, that Bill Gaither Trio.
Yes.
All these guys I sell on eBay all the time.
All right, well, maybe you're selling some of our songs.
I probably am. Wayne Watson, Larnell Harris. I've sold stuff by all those guys.
Big Bird. I had a song about Big Bird.
Oh, Big Bird, yeah.
How's Big Bird doing on eBay?
I never sold a Big Bird thing.
I co-wrote that with Dennis Scott. You might know Dennis with the Wanna Beatles.
Yeah, I know Dennis.
We co-wrote that.
Dennis has been a guest on this show many times.
Dennis and I have been friends since 1979.
Really?
I introduced him to his wife. I set him up. I was doing a gig at the Knowles Home, which is a Metro nursing home, and I've been playing out there for 100 years. And I was going out to do a gig one night, and I thought, Dennis and Lori. So I called Dennis, and I said, could you come play bass on this gig? He goes, yeah.
You did it on purpose.
Oh, of course. And then I called Lori, and I said, could you sing?
The matchmaker.
Yeah. I said, Lori, can you make it to the gig? And she goes, well, sure. And now they have a child. I mean, and
Wow.
they got married first.
You're responsible for a human being, for
I
for
am.
Dennis and Scott
I am.
legend to move on.
I need to start like a matchmaker service or something.
Yeah, we're just about out of time here. Did I leave something out here?
Is what?
Would you need to say anything else?
We'd love to have anybody come to share us. Oh, let me just say a word or two
Okay.
about our cast.
Yes.
Okay.
These kids at Nashville State have just worked so hard, and they are just incredible. They just have come to life. It's just a beautiful story. You want to?
Oh, it's just very gratifying. We meet with the rehearsal schedule, which is acting 2, every Tuesday and Thursday for about 2.5 hours. And the level of progress being made is stunning. It's really great.
It really is, and everybody in the cast really seems to love each other. It's a kumbaya moment.
Kumbaya.
Lord, kumbaya. It really
I'll
is.
come see it.
We would be honored to have
And we
you
want to
there.
see your show, too.
Is it free?
It's
Of
free.
course.
Then I'll
Absolutely.
definitely come see it.
Absolutely. And again, as David said, we want to see yours too. I love that dog picture.
Oh, yeah, I should push that, right, huh?
Absolutely.
It's a Rough Life. We'll be in the Dark Horse in June.
And that's a great title.
Rough
I
House.
love
I
it.
just got it. Yeah.
Might as well push my stuff, right?
Absolutely.
The hell with the rest of this stuff. Hey,
Oh.
forget about this. It's a Rough Life. No.
It's fabulous. I can't wait to see it. And it's at the Dark Horse when?
Early June,
Early June.
6th, 7th, and 8th.
And who is?
All the actors play dogs.
And what? Did you just get it together and direct it and everything?
Well, I wrote it with a guy named Gene Levine, and we are we're on a 23rd draft.
I understand.
You understand?
Writing is rewriting, as they say.
Right, exactly.
Right.
You got to be willing to throw away some of the stuff you think that is fabulous.
We had an argument about one of the songs, because one of the songs I thought was bogging us down, and we took it out. But he didn't want to take it out, but we took it out.
It's part of it. It's
Yeah.
part of it.
Could come back in later on. Who knows?
They call what do they call those trunk songs or something? You know, it might end
Yeah.
up in some other musical.
You know, they
But I
almost
can't-
didn't include Somewhere Over the Rainbow and Wizard of Oz.
I know.
So they can be wrong, too.
I know, and Buddy Ebsen's not included either. Anyway, you got to get going. This is we have David Huntsinger and let me get this right, Janet McMahon.
McMahon.
McMahon. Janet McMahon.
Thank you for having
Is
me.
that your married name or
Well, it's my maiden name.
your maiden name?
It was something else for a while, but it's McMahon now.
Okay. After I take this drink, we'll say goodnight, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you,
Another edition of
Jesse.
the
Thank you,
show.
Jesse.
Thank you.
Living up to Lassie, it's a rough life. Trying to be so classy when I'm going through the garbage for a midday snack. Knowing I'm in trouble when the folks get back. It's a rough life. When fleas live on your belly, it's a rough life. When people call you smelly, I'm developing a complex. I might need a shrink. They blame me every time that something starts to stink. It's a rough life. Begging for a cookie is a rough life. Never getting nookie. They chase me from the kitchen when I start to beg. They think that I'm perverted when I hug their leg.